Hello, this is Dr. Anthony Festmeyer, and in this lesson we're going to find the notes of the C major scale all over the neck of the guitar. Let's get started. Before taking a look at the fingerboard, let's go ahead and review over the construction of the C major scale. First of all, it's a diatonic scale, meaning that it has one of every letter name. So in this case, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, and then we cap our scale off with another C. It also follows the whole step and half step pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Before we find these notes on the fingerboard, let's go ahead and find them on the piano. If we take a look at our piano, we can see the combination of 2 black keys and then 3 black keys, and that's a pattern for the entire piano. Anywhere where there's 2 black keys, we could come down 1 and find a C note, and then using the white keys, we just follow up C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C. These are the notes of the C major scale written out on the piano. Now, referencing the piano, we can clearly see the pattern of whole steps and half steps. If we start here on C and go up to the next key, the black key, that's a half step. If we go up to the next key, D, that's another half step. If we put 2 half steps together, we get a whole step. So C to D is a whole step. We get the same thing from D to E. D moves us up to the black key and then up to E, making for a whole step. E to F, there is no black key in between. So F is the closest note ascending from E, making it a half step. And then we have F to G, which has the black key in between, making for another whole step. Same thing from G to A, another whole step. A to B, again the black key in between, so another whole step. And then B to C, no black key in between, so C is the closest note. A is ascending from B, so we have another half step. We're going to use this understanding of whole steps and half steps to find these notes all over the guitar fingerboard. Half steps on the piano are from one key to the next closest key. On the guitar fingerboard, half steps are from one fret to the next closest fret, or from an open string to the first fret. Let's start with the high E string. That means we'll need to reference the piano or our music notation with our whole steps and half steps. Starting here at E, we have a half step from E to F. So the first fret is going to be F. Next, we have a whole step from F to G. For a whole step, we're going to skip a fret because one fret is a half step, so 2 frets would take us up to the 3rd fret for a G note. Next, we have the A note, which is a whole step away from the G note. G is here, A would be here at the 5th fret. We have the same thing with A to B, another whole step. So starting here at the 5th fret with A, we're going to skip a fret up to 7 to get the B note. And then next we have the B to the C, which is a half step, so that would just be the next fret. So B is here at 7, C is here at 8. Now that we're here at C, we'll start all over at the beginning of the scale, and we have another whole step from C to D. So from 8, we'll skip up to 10 to get the D note. And last, for this string, we're going to go from D to E, which is a whole step. D is here at the 10th fret, so we'll skip a fret up to 12 to get the E. The high E string and the low E string have the same letter name, so let's go ahead and add the low E string now. Moving on to the B string, we have a half step from B to C, so that will take us to the 1st fret. Next, from C, we have a whole step, so from the 1st fret, we'll skip up to the 3rd fret to get the D note. From D, we have another whole step up to E, so from the 3rd fret D, we'll skip up to the 5th fret for E. From E to F, we have a half step, so 5 takes us up to 6 for the F note. Then we have another whole step from F to G, so the 6th fret F will take us up to the 8th fret for the G note. From G to A is another whole step, so that will take us from the 8th fret up to the 10th fret. And then finally, from the A to the B is another whole step, so that will take us from 10 to 12. Now that we have the idea of how these whole step and half step patterns work on the guitar, you should be able to easily figure out the rest of the notes, but I will take you through them quickly. Next we have the G string. G to A is a whole step, so we're going to skip a fret and move to A at the second fret. From A to B we have another whole step, so we're going to skip a fret up to 4 for the B. Then we have a half step from B to C, so we just go to the 5th fret for the C note. From C to D we have another whole step, so skip up to 7. Then we have another whole step from D to E, so skip up to 9. From E to F is a half step, so that's the next fret. And then finally F to G is a whole step, so skip up to 12 for G. Moving on to the D string, we have a whole step from D to E, so that takes us to the second fret. From E to F we have a half step, so that moves us from 2 to 3. Next we have a whole step from F to G, so we skip a fret up to the 5th fret. Then we have another whole step from G to A, so we skip from 5 up to 7. From A to B we have another whole step, so we skip from 7 up to 9, and then B to C is a half step, so we just move to the next fret, 10. Finally, from C to D we have another whole step, so that takes us up to the 12th fret. And last, we'll check out the A string. From A to B we have a whole step, so that takes us up to fret 2 for the B. From B to C we have a half step, so that takes us 1 fret to the 3rd fret. From C to D, whole step, so we're skipping from 3 to 5 to get the D note. From D to E, another whole step, so we're skipping from 5 to 7 to get the E note. From E to F, we have a half step, so that's the next fret, so 7 moves us to 8 for the F note. F to G is another whole step, so 8 moves us up to 10. And then finally we have G to A, a whole step from 10 up to 12. So now we have the notes of the C major scale all over the fingerboard. Now a couple of things to note. First, the notes of the 12th fret are the same as the notes of the open string, they're just an octave higher. Most guitars have a double dot at the 12th fret, so it's easy to recognize where the note name is repeated. The second thing is that if you move beyond the 12th fret, you're just repeating the notes from the open string on. So 12th is E, open is E, so 13 will be F, just like 1 is F. If we skip from 13 up to 15, that would take us from F to G, just like 1 and 3. Now we're going to take what we just learned and apply it to the guitar neck by playing C major scales that start on C and end on C on all 6 strings. Now we're going to go ahead and start with the B string because we can start nice and low on a C right here at the 1st fret. But like I said, we'll do this on every string, and some will take us pretty high on the neck up here to maybe even the 18th fret, that kind of thing. So just a reminder, once we get past the 12th fret, we're just repeating the notes that are down here at the bottom, just an octave higher. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Taking our first finger and putting on the 1st fret of the B string, that gives us a C note. And then we're just going to follow the pattern whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half to find the notes of the C scale. So starting on C, I skip a fret for a whole step to D, skip another fret for a whole step to E. Next I need a half step to F, that's the next fret. Then skip a fret for a whole step to G, skip another fret for a whole step to A, another fret for a whole step to B, and then finally a half step to C. This takes us to the 13th fret, so we're going a little bit higher than that diagram, but again, 12 has the same letter names as the open strings, so if I move up to 13, it's the same letter name as the 1st fret. Let's move down another string and do the same thing on the G string. A C note will be at the 5th fret. So from there, just moving through whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I have a whole step from C to D, a whole step from D to E, again skip a fret, half step from E to F, so just the next fret, skip a fret for F to G for another whole step, G to A, skip a fret. Now I'm at the 14th fret. This is A at the 14th fret, just like it's A at the 2nd fret. I have another whole step from A to B, and then a half step from B to C. Next, let's move down one more to the D string. Now this one's going to take us nice and high on the guitar because again, we're starting on C. A C note on the D string is here at the 10th fret. So from there, I'm going to go C to D at the 12th fret. Now I'm already moving to the higher string. So if I wanted to, I could just go lower and go to the 2nd fret for the E note. But I'm just going to keep moving higher to kind of experiment with where these higher notes are. So next I have a whole step from D to E, half step from E to F, whole step from F to G, G to A, a whole step, skip a fret, A to B, a whole step, skip a fret, and then a half step up to C. On this guitar, it takes me to the last fret. Some of your guitars might not have quite as many frets, and some might have more, but it's definitely taking me very high on the neck. Next, let's move down to the A string. The lowest C note is at the 3rd fret. So from there, we'll just make our way up, a whole step to D, whole step to E. Next fret for a half step to F, skip a fret, whole step to G, skip a fret, whole step to A, skip a fret, whole step to B. Then finally we end on C at the 15th fret, which again, 15 is the same letter name as 3. And finally, let's check out the E strings. The letter names are the same, whether we're on the high E string or the low E string. So let's just go ahead and do the high E string. You can apply the same idea to the low string. The lowest C note on the high E string is here at the 8th fret. So again, we're going to move pretty high, just like we did with the D string. Starting from the 8th fret on C, we're going to move to the 10th fret on D, 12th fret on E, half step up to the 13th fret for F, 15 for G, keep going, 17 for A, 19 for B, takes us to 20th fret for the high C note.